Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you're watching this video. Thanks for clicking on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. The subject of today's video is a very important one. The subject is going to be the top pens to use during a pandemic. The year 2020 was not an easy year for anyone. It was a time where everyone experienced loss in one form or another. Life for everyone changed nearly overnight due to the coronavirus, and with that change came a devastating loss of normalcy. Fortunately, as time progresses, things are slowly getting back to normal as people are returning to work and resuming activities that we all had to sacrifice in the name of the greater good. As we slowly return to normal and start going back to work, it's important that we still remain vigilant as best we can, while at the same time retain the joys we may have once taken for granted in the past. For example, many of us used to take our fountain pens to work, to use at work. This was an enjoyable aspect for almost all fountain pen enthusiasts. Now, I don't believe there is a need to stop taking our fountain pens to work, but there is a need to modify some things that we can do so that we can always minimize the risk as best as possible. And one idea would be taking pens with us that are made of materials that can minimize the risk of transmitting germs and such. And I'm talking about antimicrobial materials such as brass and copper. For those of you who don't know, brass and copper are in a constant state of oxidation. It accounts for why over time the material changes color. Now, it's in this constant state of oxidation where if a virus were to land on the material, the oxidized molecules of the metal would act as a poison to the virus and effectively render it inert. I know that wasn't the most scientific of explanations, so you'll have to forgive me, as the point still stands. Antimicrobial materials are a hostile environment for viruses and are therefore ever more relevant in today's day. So, I'm going to go over some fountain pen options available in the aforementioned antimicrobial materials, as well as some things to avoid. Now, this list is not an all-inclusive list, and I'm sure there are more options out there, but these are the ones that come to mind for me. This list is in no particular order and is not numbered in the way of best to worst. All of the pens have their merits, pros and cons, but remember, that's not what the point of this video is. The point is to show you antimicrobial fountain pen options that are available so that when you return to work, you can do it with a greater sense of what was normal and enjoyable. So let's get started. The first pen is going to be the Kaweco Brass Sport. The Kaweco Brass Sport, made in Germany. This is one of your smaller options. It's made of all brass. This runs you $100. This pen uses cartridges. You could also use a special converter that Kaweco sells. It's a small pump converter. This is it right here. It doesn't have a clip, but you can actually buy one separately and attach it. It slides on and off. This pen is, like I said, a pocket pen, and it does post. This one is small and it's good to travel with. The next pen is another pen from the Kaweco brand and is going to be the Kaweco Lillyput. I would say the Kaweco Lillyput, also an all brass fountain pen that runs $80, is probably one of the thinnest and smallest options on the list here. This pen is a cartridge only pen, and it won't even fit the really small pump converter that the Brass Sport can use. This pen is a screw to post, and it takes quite a few screws to post it. This pen has a number 5 sized stainless steel nib. This being the smallest and the skinniest option is probably best for people with really small hands. Next is going to be a newer brand coming out of Taiwan with the Y Studio Classic Portable Fountain Pen. The Y Studio Classic Portable Fountain Pen will run you $159. Unlike the previous two pens, this pen is a full-sized pen that uses cartridges and converters and has a slim, hexagonal, old-school wooden pencil type shape. This is a snap cap, and this cap does not post. It's also clipless, however, there's a ring at the top that you can tie a dongle onto. The nib that this pen has is a small number 5 sized Schmidt stainless steel nib. This pen is made entirely of copper. The next brand comes from a brand called Shun Design. The Shun Design Pocket Fountain Pen comes in two separate options. The brass will run you $142, whereas the copper will run you $162. Both are pocket-sized and very small. Both of these pens are cartridge-filled only. There is no converter that will fit. Both of these are clipless, and both of these pens are screw to post. This pen, unlike the previous pens, has a number 6 size stainless steel Yovo nib. The next pen is going to be from a brand we all know as Keras Customs, when in fact they are now actually called the Keras Pen Company. The pen in question is the Kelas Inc version 2. The Keras Pen Company Inc version 2 copper fountain pen will cost you $185. This is a full-size fountain pen. This pen is filled using cartridges or converters. It has an unscrewable Bach nib unit that's made of stainless steel and has Keras logo branded on it. This pen does not post. This pen is customizable on the Keras website. So if you guys decided you wanted this whole pen, the same pen, in brass, believe it or not, it'll actually cost you a little less at $155. Now be advised, the only part of this pen that is not copper is in the clip. So the clip is the only part that is not antimicrobial, whereas the rest of the body is. The last pen on my list also comes from the Keras Pen Company and is called the Brass Decograph. The Keras Pen Company Brass Decograph. This pen will run you $185. This pen is all brass, including the clip. Unlike the Ink version 2, this pen can be posted. This pen is also a cartridge converter and also shares the same stainless steel Bach nib unit. Now, as I said, this is not an all-inclusive list. I'm sure there are others out there. If you know of any, please feel free to post them in the comments below. I know that there are other no-name brands or brands that offer cheaper brass pens, but for the ones I know of, there is something to be aware of. For example, the Monteverdi Brass Tool Pen is an inexpensive pen option at $40. The only problem here is that while it is a competent pen in its own right, the pen is coated with a thin layer of lacquer to prevent the oxidation and the changing of the material's color. Now, as I stated earlier, the constant state of oxidation of the material is the very aspect that makes the material antimicrobial. So, you prevent the oxidation by lacquering the pen, you prevent the properties that kills viruses from killing the viruses. Same goes for the cheaper Chinese-made Kaweco brass sport copies. They are lacquered to prevent oxidation and, in the end, make the pen useless in its antimicrobial efficacy. So that was my list of pens to use during a pandemic. I hope you found it helpful. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys, and please, be well and be safe.